Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Your Royal Highness. Good afternoon, Jan. Thank you so much for participating in this interview that we're doing today. Lovely setting to have it in Herning at one of the biggest breeding events in Denmark of the year. And we're here to discuss the World Breeding Federation for sport horses because this year is our 30th anniversary. And we're honored to have had you as our patron for 25 years, Jan as our president for 25 years. And so we just wanted to take a little trip down memory lane to discuss the World Breeding Federation. So my first question to you is, what was your first involvement with the WBFSH? I'm going to ask each of you. Yeah.
Well, from my point, it was you asking me if I would like to become the patron of the World Breeding Federation, as you had just become its president. That I do remember.
Okay.
So I succeeded Princess Anne, who was before me.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And for Jan?
Actually, I attended the startup meeting of the World Breeding Federation in Berlin in 1994 as a representative of the Danish Warm Blood. The beginning was modest. I think there were about 25 stud books attending that meeting in Berlin at the time. And a couple of years after this first meeting, an ad hoc committee was established with the purpose of establishing a more efficient structure of the World Breeding Federation. And Jupp Bartels was on that committee, late Breidel Graf zu Ransau, and I was on that committee. And the structure that we have today is a result of that work of that ad hoc committee, and also the statutes that we have today. So, and then in 1999, I was elected president, and the princess agreed to become patron of our organization. That was 99.
Yes.
25 years ago.
25 years ago.
And what a journey it's been.
It has been quite a journey, yeah.
It has really developed quite enormously that I don't think anybody could have foreseen at that time where we are today.
Yes.
And how important I find the World Breeding Federation is.
Yes. Yeah, for breeding it has changed a lot, the focus that we have on breeding, for breeders, for stud books. That was obviously the main purpose of why all of this started. So from the events of our history, is there a particular event that you recall that maybe was poignant for you?
I've been to a few of the annual meetings and unfortunately I have not been able to be at all of them, but it is always interesting, and you learn a lot. You learn more than you did before you came there.
Yes.
And it's wonderful that so many breeding federations have become part of it.
Indeed.
Starting with a small number, and now there really are a whole lot.
Yes.
And it's a good and wonderful development.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned our general meetings, and we really try every year to have some interesting speakers with some important seminars, some topics that are relevant in breeding and in the development of breeding. And indeed, it is a great platform for our members to come together and exchange information and knowledge. Yeah. And
inspiration, I think, also, because you meet other people that you perhaps know or that are new, and it all inspires.
Yes.
And that's what's most important.
Indeed. And for you, Jan?
Yes, well, it's difficult to say because there have been so many highlights. I would say that every single edition of our World Breeding Championship for Young Horses have been highlights. Here the development of the breeding is so clear. But also I would mention our annual meetings. They are always memorable. And if I should single out one, it must be our General Assembly in Copenhagen, because the princess invited all participants to a cocktail party at the royal castle.
Oh, wow.
And that was really a great honor, and and very well received by all participants. So that's something we remember.
Yes.
And then I
That's
remember probably the day after we went to Flyinge.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, because it was so close. So it was, it made good sense to have it in Copenhagen and then having the southern part of Sweden involved in the whole
As well, yes.
event.
Yes,
And what year was that?
it was a joint venture of
What
the
year was
Scandinavian
it?
Stadtbus.
Okay, yes.
Yes, that was really good.
Yeah,
Great.
Wait, do you remember what year it was?
Excuse me?
What year it was?
2009.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. So both of you are breeders and have bred some wonderful horses. So the question that I want to pose next is what excites you about breeding? Because to be a breeder is something quite special. It's a whole different perspective to being in the sport. And what drew you to breeding?
Well, it was a few years that we bred and bred dressage horses for my daughter Natalie. Now we don't breed anymore, but I still remember the years where we had one or two foals and the excitement and what's going to come out of it and well, the whole prospect of it, like it was interesting and it opened some new perspectives, some new windows of the whole horse world and the equestrian world that I didn't really know anything about,
yes.
to be quite honest.
Yeah, so what you address there is how it gives you the bridge between breeding and sport.
Yes,
yes,
which has been helpful and amusing, and you get to know a lot of other people that I wouldn't have met in the sports world,
yes,
so to speak.
yeah.
But the princess has been extremely successful as a breeder, especially having bred Digby,
Yes.
and also the rider of Digby, the
Yes.
Princess Natalie,
Her daughter,
who
yes.
won the bronze medal in Hong Kong.
Yeah, the team.
Yeah.
I must say that
Fantastic
was a very proud moment,
I can imagine.
having bred
Yeah,
horse or rider and horse.
yeah, yeah.
I think there are more now with this background, but then it was almost the one-off.
Yes.
I think almost the one-off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what excites me the most about breeding is definitely the foaling season.
Yes.
Well, when we have the foals in the spring and we can watch them in the field with their mares or with their mothers, I think it's simply fantastic. But also observing the breeding progress, which is rather significant, although the general interval in breeding is so slow. But the progress is really significant and
Yes.
clear.
Yes.
So that's interesting and wonderful to see.
There's a kind of magic to breeding, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yes, because you don't know what's going to come out of it.
Yes.
So
And you spend a lot of time choosing the stallion.
yes,
Yeah.
And then
yes,
you wait and you wonder what
And-
comes, and then you
yeah.
have that foal and you watch it develop. Yeah.
The springtime is
but
fantastic.
but you also choose the stallion that would suit your mare.
Correct.
It's not just the stallion, which I think
Absolutely.
it was
Yeah.
formerly. The focus was on the stallion
Yeah,
and not
yeah.
on the mare.
Yeah,
Today
right.
the focus is
That
just
has
as
changed.
much
That has changed.
on the mare as it is on the stallion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, what I'd like to know, because you've already mentioned now breeding progress, what your vision is for the future of breeding.
Well, if you want me to start, I think we must realize that the breeding landscape is changing rapidly these years. We are moving actually in the same direction as agriculture in general. That means that the number of breeders is declining, but the number of horses stays the same. So the farms get bigger and bigger. and that's due to modern reproduction methods, and also due to, I think, the fact that the level of cost is going up in breeding. So it's very different from 20 years ago. The number of breeders is definitely declining. My vision and hope for the future of breeding is that the individual stud books will survive, and that they will be able to interact through the World Breeding Federation, through our common database, which is being developed right now.
Yeah. And then as a last question, I wanted to ask you both what role you see for the World Breeding Federation in the future. So it originated as an idea to increase the visibility of breeding and breeders and to bridge the gap between breeding and sport. But where do you think the future of the World Breeding Federation lies? Maybe what challenges the World Breeding Federation needs to face?
Well, I think for the moment anyway here in Denmark, and that will spread, I'm sure, is the horse welfare.
Yes.
That is most important.
Indeed.
Yes.
Yeah.
That goes without saying. I think that's number one for me.
Correct.
Yes.
I agree.
Totally.
I think also, I'm sure that the role of the World Breeding Federation will be stronger in the future. That's only a natural development because the breeding world is getting more and more international. So our presence will become more strong than it is today, and that's a very good development. But I also want to stress that the World Federation should never interfere with the breeding programs of the individual stud books. That's not going to be our role, but I think we will be a platform for exchanging data, for instance, between stud books, and for the stud books to have a platform to interact.
And also what the Princess mentioned in terms of horse welfare, I think we need to have a very strong voice to advocate for the horse in the future, to maintain the social license of the horse, also from the root of the sport, which is obviously the breeding.
That's already a very big topic in our organization, and we are working on that already. So,
and it's become very important here in Denmark lately.
Yes.
So
it's been a lot in the media, hasn't there? Yes. So I wanted to thank you both very sincerely for taking the time to sit with me today. We have our General Assembly in Portugal in October this year, which where we're going to want to celebrate a little bit our 30th anniversary, and we really hope that we will be able to have you participating at the General Assembly this year. It would make it a very, very special event.
I would do my
Portugal is wonderful.
Utmost to come. I have been once to Portugal, but it's many years ago.
It's wonderful.
Yes.
No, that would be lovely.
Excellent.
Very nice.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. What